Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another useful session of Career by Design. So, let me ask all my guests over here, are you excited for today's event? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, ma'am.
So, you can, type in your reactions in the chat box. So, type a quick yes in the chat box so that we know that we are all awake and 100% alert because there's a lot of learning which is going to happen here today. Okay. Uh, and today's session of Career by Design, it addresses the basic and first, yet the most important step towards getting a new job, which is how to design a compelling resume. Many of you, in all our conversations that we have with students and employees also, a lot of people keep on asking how they can write a resume in a manner that is correct as per the market trend and can leave a mark on the recruiters. Uh, you also want to know what are the things that your resume should include, what are the things that you need to eliminate from your resume, and if your resume is good enough to pass through the ATS, so before we kick off today's event, let me introduce you to four elements of the event. One is Career by Design initiative, then Amazing Workplaces, the platform that brings this event to you, Commander Bali, who's a guiding force, and of course Kalyani Biswal, without whom this event would not be possible today. So, to start off, Career by Design is the brainchild of Amazing Workplaces and Commander Navneet Bali. It is a series of events that we conduct to help job aspirants, be it students, employees, or transitioning officers, to help them prepare themselves for the job market. We do this through workshops and sessions like mock-up interviews, expert Q&A sessions, consultation sessions, etc. Amazing Workplaces is a global employer branding, content, and media platform. Organizations across the globe write and talk about their best practices on the Amazing Workplaces website to make themselves stand out as great employers in the eyes of the future employees. Commander Bali, as you all know, he is an ex-Navy professional. He is Director, Northern Region, Narayana Health. Commander Bali is committed to mentoring students, especially in the healthcare segment, to help them take the best career decisions for themselves. And last but not the least, we have Kalyani. Kalyani, she's an expert resume consultant, an experienced HR professional with 12 plus years of experience. She has helped many executives at various levels to design their resumes, cover letters, and LinkedIn profiles successfully to get ahead in their careers. So we shall be answering many of your resume related queries today with the help of Kalyani. And you all have to watch out for her, not just, during the session, but even after that. And yes, I'm not leaving myself behind. So I am Ekta Kapoor, the co-founder and editor-in-chief of Amazing Workplaces. I sincerely believe that people are at the core of every organization and they need to be nurtured in an environment of great culture. I'm passionate and extremely curious about the best practices that form the foundation of any workplace culture and people management policies. So, once again, a warm welcome to Commander Bali, Kalyani, and all of you who have joined here today with us. It just shows how important this workshop is to you all. I'm sure you shall go back from here, with a lot of takeaways, and you shall be enriched in your knowledge. And while I hand over the stage to Commander Bali and Kalyani for a quick word, I would request all of you to write about your vocation and experience in the comment section so that we know exactly, who you are and what your background is. Yeah. So over to Commander Bali. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ekta, and welcome Kalyani to this session, and welcome every one of you. I think you are the ones who are at the core of everything that's being done. Um, you know, um, uh, when I look back on my first resume that I sent when I was, transitioning from forces into the civil world, I have a big laugh at looking at that resume today. But the only thing I like about that resume is that it was honest. And I think that is what I believe today also. Although Kalyani is going to actually go ahead and give you the nuances, the real crux of what this session is all about. But the only thing that I can tell today about a resume is that a resume, in addition to whatever plus, minus, additions, alterations, subtractions, something you want to showcase, something you don't want to showcase, something that should be seen more, something that should be seen less. But I feel the one word which I can, that's my advice to all youngsters today here, is that the resume must be honest, and that should be the core of what you want to send it to the recruiters or to anybody. Because the simple thing is that honesty does not demand many ifs and buts from you, and the questions that are asked when that honest resume comes in front of the HR professionals, you can answer them with great amount of ease, because that is what you are actually, and there is nothing that you need to sort of make up, or you need to do artificially in front of the recruiter. With that, thank you very much. Once the questions come, I will come back again. I think over to you, Kalyani, and have a great session today. And welcome once more, everyone. Feel free to ask as many questions. By the end of this session, you should go out saying that you really have gained an immense amount of, knowledge, wisdom, experience, and you will use it, to your own benefit. As many of you will set on the journey. Many of you are already employed, wanting to change over, wanting to get into better chance in any which way. I mean, or you need to tell someone else. I think this should be a great session. So thank you, Ekta, so much for having me once more here. And Kalyani, all yours. And I also want to welcome Sanandi Sachdeva, who has come from Jaipur, especially, because I think she will go back and tell a lot of students what they have learned today, and that will be a great learning for the management students of Jaipur. Thank you so much.
I'll do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commander Bali. Thank you, Ekta. Okay, so let's start. I hope all of you are able to see the screen.
Yes.
Okay. Just give me 1 second. Okay. So welcome once again, everyone, for the resume building for your dream job. So this is a live interactive session. So guys, it's going to be a two-way thing where you are also giving your input and your valuable suggestion, because we would also like to know what are the challenges you're facing as a profession and what are your expectations. So a brief introduction about myself. I have international exposure in recruitment, both in India and UAE and Canada. I am a resume writer and a LinkedIn profile writer. I also do coaching for career counseling and career development. Last but not the least, I would like to thank all the participants for taking out time on a weekend and coming for the session. Thank you, guys. So let's start. Ekta has already requested all of you to give your details for the related to your personal details. What I'm going to do is just put in the chat box. I think I'll have to just stop the share. Okay, so maybe those who have not replied can reply in this format, which is basically name, profession, your location, and the LinkedIn URL. I would request all of you to share the LinkedIn URL so that we can add each other and stay in touch. Okay. So before we start the session, I want to ask all of you, have you ever given a thought, what is your dream job? Or is it like you always apply on whatever available in the market? How many of you already have made a checklist that what your dream job would be comprising of? It could be anything. It could be some job which gives you a freedom to apply your own ideas, implement your creativity. It could be something like, a good 6-figure salary or something like closer to your home. Have you ever discussed about the attributes of your dream job with your spouse or with your family or with your friends? If you have done it, then guys, you have already taken the first step. If you haven't, then do it today, because this checklist is very, very important. It not only narrows down the things what you want in your life, but it also helps you in eliminating whatever things you don't want. So guys, please make a checklist about your dream job. Okay, so now what are the tools which will help you in getting your dream job? There are 4 things basically: resume, cover letter, LinkedIn profile, and LinkedIn networking. Okay, I think I have skipped one thing, so I'm just going back to the introduction slide. Okay, the content of today's workshop are groom your resume, crafting the cover letter, overview of an interview, artwork of network. And guys, don't skip, because we do have a surprise section for you at the end, so be with us. Okay. Coming to the dream job thing, how do you achieve your dream job? You may be the best employer in your organization. You may be the candidate who goes and nails all the interview. You may be the best person in your circle. But how do you communicate this to your hiring manager or to your recruiter? Even before you go, speak to them, impress them, your CV reaches them. And if your CV is not that strong, if it is not that impressive, then you're just going to reject. So your CV is basically your passport towards the new job or towards the dream job which you want to achieve. Hence, the CV should be equally powerful, or in fact, more powerful. Few of the things which we should keep taking care in the CV is spelling and grammar, guys. No one wants a spell error or a grammatical error in the CV, because it gives an impression that you're not serious about your resume or the job you're applying for. So please double check it, do the proofreading and everything before you send it across. Precise and concise. Now, there are 2 things in your resume where you should be very, very accurate and where you should give detailed information. This is a make or break deal. There are a few things where you just need to give small kind of information, and there are things where you need to give detailed information. Do not add extra information and do not get shortfall of information. So be very, 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 very be extra cautious about precising and concising the informations. Next is the action words. Now, there is a particular pattern how you write a resume, but if you use the action words, like for example, I conceptualized the idea of streamlining the processes in my operation department, or I communicated all the problems of our customer care department to the seniors and resolved their issues. So if you start a sentence with the action word, it gives an impression that this is the thing what you have actually done in your profession. Instead of saying, I am very good in so and so thing, when you start an action verb, it gives an impression that you have already done it, you have proven yourself, and that's what you're mentioning in your resume. So it gives a impact to the reader that you are somebody who has already done this and you can explain this in the interview. So try mentioning the action words. Okay, popular skills. We all have some skills in our skill set. However, the skill set keeps on changing as per the requirement of the market. I mean, you all will agree that pre-COVID, there was some skill set requires as per our profession, but after COVID and during COVID, there's some different skill sets. So whatever profession you are in currently, go to the internet, just make a random search and see what are the skill set which are trendy, and then try connecting those trendy and latest skill sets to your existing profession. As Commander Bali has also said that we should be honest in our resume, we should not be lying. So do not just pick it up directly from the internet and put it, try connecting it. In case you are not able to connect it, it's absolutely something new. Like for example, digital marketing is something new which has just come to the market, say from last 5 years, and you can't fake about it. So try studying about it or try gaining some knowledge about it or experience about it, and then you mention. Please make sure whenever you're making or sending your CV, do not add the old skill set. Always add the new and required popular skill sets. Achievements. Now, anyone can go and say that, I am the best communicator, I am the best worker, I am the best recruiter. But how do you prove it? Everyone needs some example, everyone needs some concrete data. So achievements section is one of the section which needs a complete set of attention in your resume. Always mention what are your key achievements in the job you're currently doing or in your past company. Also, make sure that whenever you're writing these achievements, it should be in numbers. Like, for example, I have reduced 20% of customer complaints annually. Or, for example, I have generated 50 crores of sales quarterly. So all these things, when you're going for the interview, it gives an impression to the recruiter that you have, these are the value addition you have done in your company, and they're going to ask you more questions about it. Normally what happens when my clients comes to me and I ask them, what are your achievements? They just tell us, we don't have any achievements. We don't have any key wins. We were just given a set of JD by our HR, and we are doing that every year after year. And that's how we are getting the basic standard increment. I don't agree with the fact. I believe that if your company is giving you increment year after year, it means you're doing some value addition. It's just that maybe you are not realizing it. Hence, whenever you're going to make your CV, just sit down quietly, do a introspection, do a self observation, and think, what are the things given by the company to you, and what have you actually done, and where are you today? You will be astonished to know that there are not only the JD, what you have done, there are always something extra which you have brought to the table. A lot of my clients have come back to me when I have probed them with the questions, and with different data and facts. They have come back to me and they're like, oh yeah, you're right, we have done this also, we have done that also. This is one of the very important factor, not only for your CV, but when you have your key achievements, that too in a quantifiable manner in front of you, you can also put that in your performance appraisal. It also gives you a kind of feel good that, I've been doing so much. I am not lacking in anything. I'm also adding value to the company. So it's a very beautiful thing. I think even if you're not in a process of making your CV, you should just sit down in every 3 or 6 months and list down your achievements professionally. Quantification, that's one of the important things. Now, words become very, very boring, whereas numbers actually and very immediately draws your attention. Like, when there is a job opening, on an average, every HR person gets around 100 plus CVs, and humanly, it's not possible to read 100 CVs, like 2 pages and 3 pages CV every day. So no HR person can go line by line or word by word. So what draws our attention is the numbers. If you have mentioned the numbers, 30% growth in sales, 40% growth in the, 40% reduction in the customer care, 50% machine maintenance. So all these numbers gives us a data that, this is what value addition the person has done to his current company. Why not call him for the job? This quantification thing is also going to attract a lot of questions to you during your interview, because interview is also a two-way process where the recruiters are also learning great deal of things from you. They might ask you, oh, you have just done 30% of customer complaint resolving in your company. Can you tell us some processes? Okay, you have done 60% of employee engagement, which resulted in employee satisfaction. Can you just give us some examples without, where we don't have to even spend some money, and what are the employee engagement activities? So they'll ask you all these questions. So be ready with the numbers, not only with the words. This is one of the important section. Every one of us knows the basic standards of writing a resume. However, today I'm going to share some resume tips and tricks as per the recruiter's view. Okay, 6-second scan, guys. As I have already mentioned that on an average, every day our HR person gets 100 plus resume. We don't have time to go through each and every CV. And because it's a candidate driven market, for one opening, there are like 1,000 plus applicants. We barely have 6 seconds. This research is done by glassdoor.com, where they say that recruiters scan a CV only for 6 seconds, and if it appeals to them, then they are definitely going to shortlist it. And if it is not appealing to them, no matter how much good value you have in your resume, they're going to reject. So make sure that your data, your presentation, your layout, your color scheme is in a way that in 6 seconds it is impressive and you are getting shortlisted. ATS. Now, this is application tracking system. There's been a lot of fear mongering around ATS, but guys, there's nothing to be scared of. ATS is basically a non-human interference software where they shortlist the resume. What you do basically, if you have a job description with you and you want to apply, pick up the keywords from those job description and try using it in your CV for the ATS scan, but do not overdo it. If you're putting too much of those keywords, it's not going to land you anywhere. Just see the relevant one, how you can connect it to your professional synopsis, and do it. Also, make sure when you are applying directly, if you're not sending an email to someone for the job application, if you're applying it on the websites, then just to be on safer side for ATS, do not use too many boxes or layouts or different hard colors and all. Keep it simple. Always use a PDF version, not the Word, not the Excel, not the PPT, just the PDF version. Because if you are sending any other doc, it might change the format and ATS might not be able to read it because it's a non-human thing. So always use a PDF version. Okay, social media impact. Guys, gone are the days when recruiters used to call you for interview or give you an offer letter based on the resume or interview or someone's recommendation. This is the era of social media, and these social media impact is strongly seen in everywhere. These days, most, I think all of the HR people who are calling anyone for interview, they also do a random search on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. Whatever your LinkedIn says, whatever your Facebook says, if it is not matching with your resume, then there can be some confusion and maybe you cannot get shortlisted. And also make sure that you keep your social media very, very clean. You might be the best candidate in your resume, but if your social media is, saying something else for you, I think you will be rejected and not be called for the interview. Make sure your LinkedIn profile is neat and clean. Make sure your Facebook is neat and clean. Make sure your Instagram is neat and clean, because these are the social media platform where every recruiter is going to have a little scanning for you and then they're going to call you. Also, there are a lot of, Facebook safety things where, you can't open anyone's profile if you're not added in the friend list and all. Personally, I would suggest take it out, because every now and then recruiters keep on searching for people, and if they're not okay, if they cannot see your profile, it becomes like little confusing. They want your online presence. This is the era when we are working online, we are having meeting online, we are doing everything online. Your absence, your profile's absence from online media can have a negative impact. They might think that maybe you're very traditional, or maybe you don't know how to use the digital marketing and social media. So make sure you have a clean profile everywhere and you're easily accessible. How cool is lying on resume? Absolutely not at cool. You might go to the best resume writer and ask them to make a fantastic CV, and that CV can land you up in 14 or 15 or 16 interviews in a day. But then what happens when you go to an interview? If they ask you something, you're not able to answer it, it's a very bad thing. You're not only closing your door in that company forever, but you also get blacklisted. I need to tell you guys that most of the HR people have their HR circle where they share their horrible experiences. And at times they do share the name of the people and their resume as well. So make sure you're not lying at all in resume. It is absolutely okay not knowing anything. It is absolutely okay if you're not aware of anything, and just say that, I'm not aware. But lying is something which you should totally avoid in your resume. Also, if there is something, few things which you want to put in your CV, but you don't know how to do it, ask some senior. If you don't want to hire a resume writer, ask a mentor, ask a senior, or ask a colleague. There's always a way where you don't have to lie and you can easily put all those things also, which I'm going to cover in my next slide. How about reference available on request? This is something which you would have seen in most of the resume, and I consider this as the absolute waste of space. Guys, nobody is going to read a CV of more than 3 page, or even I don't recommend 3 page or CV. It has to be 1 page or 2 page or at the most. Reference available on request is just a waste of time. If someone is hiring you, they're definitely going to do a ref check about you. They're just not going to blindly hire you. Whether you mention reference available or not available, they are going to ask you. So there's absolutely no need for doing it. In fact, use this space for some other better thing. Name the resume. Guys, as I've already mentioned to you that the recruiters are super, super, super busy. So if at that time as a candidate, when you're applying for a job and you're making the job easy, then they're definitely going to ask you for an interview. See, all recruiters are also human. We just not only look for 100% matching the skill set, we also look for people who are easy in communication, people who can understand, like we are also humans and can be easy. What do you mean by naming the resume? Whatever files you are sending, instead of just putting the name like new Microsoft document or PDF1 or PDF2, if you give a proper name, like for example, Kalyani Biswal, HR manager, 12 plus experience. So whenever a recruiter is searching in their files, they get the name, they say it easily, it becomes very easy for them. So try always naming the resume. Don't send it without naming it. Secret weapon. Now, what's a secret weapon? Everybody has a secret weapon in their resume. This is one thing which can make or break a deal. This is one thing on which you can encash a lot of brownie points. It could be anything. It could be maybe your amazing background when you're a fresher, or maybe your key achievement in the recent company, or maybe a good certification course which you have done recently and scored a good GPA. Find out what is that secret weapon in your resume and your professional career, which you can mention in your resume. Talk about it very confidently and support with evidence in the interview. This is one thing where you are super, super confident and can actually ask and trick the recruiter to ask you. You should also make sure that you are somewhere, somehow linking your secret weapon with the job description given for the new job. So what happens when you're talking to the recruiter? They get an impression that for whatever job they're hiring, this is something which is not new for you. You have already done it. It's kind of tried, tested, and trusted. So they will definitely give a thought to you that, everybody wants to hire a trained employee rather than a fresher. So try linking your secret weapon with the JD given for the new role, and you will score the brownie points. Okay, layouts. Now, I want you all to write in the chat box, what do you think about the layout? Should we be just using the black and white traditional layout, which we have been using from years, or you are okay with using bright colors, extra appealing layouts? What do you think about it? So if you all can put in the chats. Okay. I can see a lot of you have already put the LinkedIn profile URL. That is great. Black and white. Okay. What about others? Ketki has written black and white. What about others? What do you think? Colorful or black and white? Okay. Alida, black and white. Okay. Appealing layout, Shruti. Okay. Seamless and same layout throughout WebHub. Okay. Black and white, Malvika, black and white, black and white, black and white. Okay. So I see a lot of people are going in favor of the traditional one, black and white. Okay. Colorful. Okay. Black and white, Anmol. Okay, guys. Okay, fine. Then let's just have this. I'm showing you one layout. Okay. When I was designing one of my clients' layout, and I just told him that, I'm going to use black and orange for you. And he's like, oh my God, orange CV, will that look? Oh, I don't want an orange CV even if you're giving me for free. I said, listen, just look at the layout and then you can give me your feedback. This is the layout I've shared with him. Wait, something. Okay. This is the layout I've shared with him. It's not completely orange. It's between sunshine yellow and orange and black. And you know what? That guy liked it. Tell me one thing, guys, now, if you have a CV in front of you, which is black and white and in the traditional format, that boring format, and one CV, you have it in this format where you can see about me, where you can see the experiences at a glance, where you can see the skill set, where you see the professional synopsis and in color. You don't need to read it. I'm just asking if two CVs like this are lying in front of you, which one are you going to pick up? No reading, just looking at them. Just forget for a second that even reading. You can't read, just let's assume that. Two CVs are lying. One is black and white with the old traditional one, and the other one is this one. Tell me, guys. So can I see some answers in the chat box? The colorful one, this one, this one. Obviously, guys, we all are human beings. We are living in the era of Pinterest and Instagram. Of course, colors and beautiful layouts are going to appeal us. So definitely a traditional black and white CVs are like 2000, I can say. This is the latest trend. At least when we are talking about 6-second scan and you have a HR person, even if the person who's using this layout, if he has less experience, lesser knowledge, at least someone will pick up the CV to read, and will shortlist it. Ki chalo side mein rakh dete, dekh lenge baad mein, just because of the layout. So guys, layout is of utmost importance. Also, let me just show you the other layouts. Okay. This layout, this was designed for a candidate who was 55 plus, and she said that I believe in simplicity, though I would like some color. So I just wanted to be simple. So this is how I've kept for her. This is one layout. This is like the third one in charcoal black. This is like one of my favorites. This is for a client who was in a senior position in finance. Personally, he has told me that he loves number and he's a very serious person. He never had a good rapport with any HR people, you know. And he's like, even when I set my CV or I go for interview, I don't smile. So people don't like me. I'm not friendly. So can you do something with my CV where, people will read it and will assume that I'm friendly? I can't show you his picture. I can't reveal his name, but his picture, particularly over here, was extra smiling. It was like it wasn't fake, or it wasn't like pretending, but it was like extra smiley. And when you see this first page of this layout, the third one, you will automatically assume that this person whose CV this is, that guy or girl is working in finance or something to do with the numbers, so that was another part. I've given him the CV. He told me later that he has received a lot of good feedback about this. I haven't asked him if he made any HR friends or not, but he was quite happy with it. So he wanted his profession to be reflected in the resume. And I think it's fair enough. Like, if you are doing something and you can make that available at a glance in your resume, it's really nice. I also remember working for a chef's resume in Australia, where he has asked me to put the cuisines and his signature dishes as the background of the CV, and I've done that. And he told me that a lot of people have appreciated that, but he never told me that anyone has rejected his resume because of the layout. I'm not asking you to just take out the extra glamorous colors or extra glamorous pictures directly from net and put it on your resume. You have to obviously see the color combination, the color scheming, the layout, the profession in which you are, and accordingly choose one. Okay. This is the last layout for the day, which I'm showing. This was for a person who was doing something in environment and health. So that's why the green color. Basically, if you also see the layouts, this is not this, all these layouts apart from the color scheme is not like the traditional one where we had one paragraph, the other paragraph, the other paragraph. Here we are trying to capture maximum of information at one go. Like for example, if you see this one, or for example, this CV, here we have in professional synopsis, tell me about yourself, the first para where you're talking about your experiences and your background and everything, plus the experiences, education, professional synopsis, skills. So as a recruiter, if I want to see what are your skill set, I don't need to turn the page. Or if I just need to see what are your education, I don't need to turn the page. Or experience, I again don't need to turn the page. It's all available at one go. And that's the best thing about these layouts. Guys, ditch the traditional layout formula where you have to just write paragraph after paragraph. Devise a good layout where you can put maximum number of information at one go, which makes it easy for everybody. Lastly, choose a layout based on your preference. Don't choose a layout or color because mama said this is nice or my husband said this is nice. You should feel good about your resume because end of the day, it's you who's going to justify your resume in the interview. The spouse is not going to come with you, not the resume writer, not the friend. So even if somebody is very persuasive about any color scheme, don't go for it unless and until you are convinced. Okay. Okay. Now I'm just simply going to tell you what should be the contents in a resume. Number one is the profile summary. Why do we need a profile summary? This is because it just gives us at glance, all the details about you as a professional, the number of years of experience, what are the sectors you have you have worked. Have you worked with, are you leading a team or are you reporting to someone? How you have managed your team, is that a simple team or cross-geographic team? Have you worked in different markets or just at one place? What are your core strengths? So this profile summary is very important. As a recruiter, if I don't have time to read through your professional synopsis or 3-pager CV, I'll just go through your summary, the summary paragraph, and then I'll decide whether I should shortlist you or reject you. So guys, if you're targeting a particular job for which you're sending your resume, make sure that profile summary is matching to the job description given for the job. And rest of the resume has to be supportive about the profile summary, what you have written. Personal details. Guys, there has been in the past, there were many a times, we were like, when we were working in recruitment team, we were happy with someone's candidature. We really wanted to give him the offer letter on the spot. We wanted to call him for the interview, but when I dial the number is wrong. Or when I'm sending the email, the mail has bounced. Guys, it's very, very important that you are double checking your personal details, the email ID, the LinkedIn URL, the phone number, because these are the medium through which the recruiters are going to contact you. Please keep on checking your emails. Give an email ID which you are using currently, not something which you were using ages back and all. That also reminds me, ditch out your teenager email ID like Sweet Barbie 16 or Martial Art 24. These IDs are not going to work. You, when you are going in a professional scenario, you have to give a professional ID as well, and make sure that you're currently using it, and make sure that your personal details are right and easily visible in the resume. It shouldn't happen that you have highlighted your key wins, your professional synopsis, everything, but your personal details is lying somewhere in a corner in a very small font. Then the recruiters would be thinking, oh, how do we contact the person? How do we contact the person? Okay, phone number not easily available. Let's just reject the CV. So don't make that. Make your personal details very much visible. You can put it at the top, just below your name and designation. Kalyani Biswal, Manager HR, cell number so and so, email ID so and so, LinkedIn URL so and so. So it becomes very visible to the people who want to contact you. And of course, the right details. Key qualities. Now, guys, I have mentioned profile summary. I mentioned profile synopsis. I've written about my education. Why do I need to list out the key qualities separately? Let me just take you to the layouts previously. Here are the skills sections. Now, these are very important. I have already spoken about you. How do you get the popular skills in the net? How do you match it with your job description and put it in resume? Why do we need to do that? Again, if the recruiters are not having time and they just want to match your resume and skills with the given job description, business development, okay, tick. Sales and marketing, tick. Digital marketing, tick. Communication, tick. Okay, this guy is matching 90% of our job description. Let's just call that person for interview. That's one thing. Second thing is the skills, what are actually the keywords which are mentioned in the ATS. So when you're putting all these skills, the ATS is easily recognizing it and shortlisting your CV. Plus, these are the skill set on which you can deal your conversation during the interview and enhance on it. So skills are very much important. Do mention your skill. You can make it skills, key qualities, whatever, but don't ditch it. Put it in your resume. Professional synopsis is basically the details of the job, what you have done. So if I'm a HR person, what I've done as a recruiter, what I have done in diversity and inclusion, what I have done in compensation and benefit. So guys, just don't mention whatever JD is given by the company to you. You need to really go in detail, mention what was given in the JD, what you have actually done, and what was the output. You know, if I am writing, I'm a recruiter, I'll not just write that I've recruited 100 plus candidates in a year. I would write, I have developed so many recruitment SOPs, which has reduced the timeline for recruitment and got us the qualitative candidate, which actually resulted in less attrition rate. Here, there are three factors. One, I was capable of developing a SOP. Second, I saved the time of my management and other people. Third, I got the qualitative people, which actually helped in reducing the attrition. So the question was about recruitment, but I'm showing 3 points, 3 areas where I am very good. This is how you have to write your professional synopsis, just not in one line. Executive summary. So executive summary is again something you have mentioned the profile summary. You have written the professional synopsis. Executive summary is something which comes to the left side of the layout. It's again the pointers basically. If someone doesn't have a full time to read your professional synopsis, they'll just go through your executive summary. Okay, this is a marketing manager. He has done amazing work in digital marketing. He has got business development. He has got new clients. He's got good communication skills. Okay, everything check. So that's the executive summary, which speaks about the current profession. Achievement highlights. I've already spoken about it and I'll keep on repeating this, guys. You need to sit down, list down your achievements in your current job, in your previous job, quantify it and mention it. Most of the time, when recruiters read that this is the person who has actually brought value to the company and they have measured it and they have added it in the CV. So this is the kind of person I would like to go. I mean, everybody, like even for the recruiters, we have targets when we have an open position. It's just not the candidates. It's not only you who wants a good job. We also want a good candidate, because if you don't get a good candidate, we're not going to get good performance appraisal. So hence, we are also looking for good candidates. How do we know you are a good candidate? How are you going to prove it? Of course, by the achievement highlights. I'm not going back to your company and asking them that, this guy has put all these things in the CV. Is that correct? What do you think? Or I'm not going to check it with your friends or colleagues. I'm going to check it with you. Whatever achievement highlights you have added, the recruiters are going to ask you to elaborate that in your interview. What were the processes done for these achievement highlighting? How have you measured? How have you reached on this percentages? What do you think about this process followed by the company? Do you have any suggestion for improvement? People are going to grill you on these things, and you'll feel happy about it if you have achieved something and you're talking about your achievement, then I think you'll feel happy. And guys, personally, I'll tell you, I love giving interviews. You heard it right. Giving interviews, not taking interviews. That though I'm a HR person, because interview is a thing where people are actually asking you to speak good about you. If you speak anywhere else good about you, like if I talk about how good I am in front of my parents say, no, 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 you're not at all good. If I speak that in front of my husband, he says, no, 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 you're not at all good. But if I speak that, how good I am in an interview, the interviewers are going to listen to that and they're going to probe me, yeah, speak more. So I think this is the best thing, best time when you can speak about your achievement, you can highlight it. But before that, you have to make sure that you are making a list of it. Okay. Next is the hobbies. Now, a lot of people say that, we are going for a job. Why do they need to know my hobbies? I can just like ditch it. Guys, please understand we are living in 2021. Here, people also want to make a relationship beyond profession. We don't want robots to work with us. We want humans who have emotion. And we want to know anyone whom we are hiring. We want to know beyond their career, beyond their profession. It's very important for you to put your hobbies, but just don't put any random hobbies. And you will not believe, seriously, there are cases where people are shortlisted because of hobbies. I remember in 2010 when I was working for a manufacturing company in Mumbai, and we had an opening in CSR department. The CSR head came to me and he showed me a CV where the person has written email etiquettes as the hobbies. And that was the time when people were just learning how to write a professional email. And we came across somebody with email etiquettes, and that guy was like, why don't you call her for interview? And I'm like, have you seen her CV? She doesn't match with any of the JD. He's like, no, no, but I would still like to meet her. Though she came for the interview, she was not shortlisted, but at least she got a call for interviews based on the hobbies. Not to forget, I have this resume on my Insta also, where one of the lady has mentioned her hobbies as social media gossip. We were laughing about it, and the marketing head said that, why did you call her? The position was for digital marketing plus sales. And we said, yeah, let's just call her. We are calling so many candidates. Let's just even call her. She was so confident about social media gossip, and she had given us so many examples that we thought, let's just give her the offer letter and let's see what can she do. Not only got the offer, but she was also managed to achieve her sales target by selling her products in social media. She really knew like how to use the social media, whom all to contact, how to pitch the product, how to sell it, and also she was giving after sales service. She really knew the social media thing. And maybe social media gossiping, writing the way she has written was not correct, but that got her shortlisted. So guys, please make sure you make your hobbies very much visible in your CV, because there are times when people are going to talk to you about it. Okay, the list of things which you should remove from your resume immediately. One is the high school information. We don't want to know about your 10th and 12th, because obviously if you have done your graduation and masters, then you would have done your schooling. Let's just take this out. Poor GPA. If you have poor GPA scores, don't mention it. Series of short-lived jobs. This is going to just lead to more confusion when a recruiter is reading, and they will be confused. Why did you have so many short-lived jobs? There would be some logical reasoning why you have so many short-lived jobs, why you have just left the jobs so in a short while. But then when you're putting it in resume, maybe you can talk about it in the interview, but putting it in the resume is not a good thing because it just leads to more confusion. So just leave it. Objective statement. Objective of the resume is to get the job. Let's just dish that. We don't need the objective statement at all. Unexplained gaps. Now, guys, there are times when people are taking a career break, but then it's very important for you, if you have taken a career break, to mention it in your resume, because uh, it just leads to more confusion. If I see like someone had a gap of 4 years, what were you doing in those 4 years? Were you unemployed? Were you in jail? What were you doing? So it's always advisable to put a sentence or two mentioning what were you doing during that career gap, and then you can elaborate in the interview. There's absolutely no need to hide the gaps. I know a lot of people, they become reluctant. They have their inhibition when they have to explain their gaps. It's okay. We all are human beings. We all need gaps in career as well. So that's just okay. That's absolutely okay. Life stories are a must know in your resume. We don't want to know if you're married or not. We don't want to know you have 2, 3, 4, 5 kids. So it's a big no. Don't mention it, please. Salary expectations, guys, this is a big no. Please don't mention your salary expectation. I'm sure you will have a salary expectation in your mind, but try talking about it in your last round of interview. Don't mention it in your CV, because also there are times when if a job opportunity is really really good, or if they are offering you a lot of perks and benefits, or there is something else where you can compromise your salary a bit, maybe you will be losing out on that opportunity if you have already mentioned a salary expectation in CV, because that gives an impression to the recruiter that this guy is very adamant. If he has written 20 lakhs, he's not going to come in less than 20 lakhs. Let's not just waste our time in calling him and, talking to him. Let's just reject. So try not mentioning your salary expectation, not only in your resume, but during your first or second round of interview as well. More pages. No one has time to read more and more and more pages. You should actually know how to explain your professional career in less number of words and in less pages. Okay, guys, next thing is the cover letter. Just going to show you some things. These are the 20 powerful words which you should use in cover letter. People normally get confused when they have to write a cover letter. You might write an amazing CV, but when it comes to cover letter, they all are confused. Don't try to repeat whatever points you have mentioned in your resume in the cover letter, because then it just becomes a repetition. So there are few tips I have mentioned here. Use the same font and style as your resume. Do not use a generic cover letter. Whichever company you're sending the cover letter, try getting the name of the person to whom you're sending. Try addressing about the company. Write the full name of the company. Again, put your contact information. State the position that you're applying for. Include the business address, date your letter, and avoid to whom it may concern. Get a name. I mean, everyone likes a personalized email or a personalized letter. Make some little effort. Try to get the name of the person and address it to them. It really adds some value. If you have already spoken to someone in the company and because of their reference, you're sending the resume and cover letter, try mentioning their name in the cover letter. It just adds more weightage to your resume. Okay. And last but not the least, proofread for your mistakes. Okay, guys, career break. I'm addressing this career break because a lot of my clients and even as a recruiter, a lot of individuals have come to me who are, I don't know, for some or other reasons, are very much shamed about their career break. That's absolutely okay. Be it backpacking, or be it helping a family member battling a deadly disease, or be it a completion of a course, or just be it taking a break from the monotonous boredom of work. It's absolutely okay for taking a career break. It's just that you have to make sure that whatever reason was there behind taking your career break, you are explaining that correctly to the recruiters. Guys, every experience is a learning. It's just that how you're using that learning experience. Career break is also a learning experience. All you have to do is match it with your current profession and explain it in a way to the recruiters which will help you in earning brownie points. So don't be ashamed of the career break. Go ahead, take it. If you have already taken it, then please mention it in your resume. Talk about it beautifully in your interview. And if you're currently enjoying a career break, then all the best. I'm really happy for you. Okay. Just a gentle reminder, don't skip the presentation. We have a surprise coming at the end. Okay, guys, I'm very happy that so many of you have LinkedIn profile already and you all have shared the URL. LinkedIn has recently emerged as one of the most powerful tools when it comes to job search. So searching for work on LinkedIn is very, very, trendy these days. But the question is, how do you do it? Number one thing is the catchy headline. Again, just the way there are so many resumes in front of the recruiter, there are again so many profiles on LinkedIn. So whom should the recruiters go to? What is the best thing to attract? The first thing which people see is the headline and your DP. You can't play around with your DP. Your DP is your DP, but you can definitely play with your headline. Get a catchy headline. which actually prompts the readers to go down and read your your rest of the profile, your passion. LinkedIn, people, if somebody wants to know about your profession, they will read your CV, they'll call you and they'll ask you a question. But why, the reason why people are checking your LinkedIn profile is that they also want to know you beyond your profession. So if you're passionate about something, write about your passion. What are you aspiring to be in next 5 years and 10 years? Where are you right now? What is the gap and how are you filling that gap? And all these details, people actually take pleasure in reading that. And if they find something in common, you might get a call. Linked with various groups. Now this is very, very important. LinkedIn is a platform which gives you access to all kind of groups, like all kind of groups basically. So one of the usage of getting added to this groups are, one is of course learning. You learn a lot, the great deal of things. Second is you also get to see what the industry experts are talking about it. If you have, you know, if there are certain companies which you follow, then you get to see what their VPs or their seniors or the directors are talking about those products and all. Even if you don't follow the news every day, or you have not done any certification or course recently, just reading the experts advice about the industry, you can get knowledge, and that actually helps you during the interviews. Also, LinkedIn provides you a platform of expressing your own views. So when you're adding your views, your opinion, people read that, people notice that, people see that, okay, Kalyani has written something about it, maybe she is good in employee engagement, maybe we should just call and chat with her, or maybe we should just call her for interview. So this is also one way where you are showing your visibility to the industry, to the recruiter. So guys, don't miss it out. Whatever your passion area are, whatever companies you like, go join them, see what the industry experts are talking about, and add your comments. Profile branding. Now, this is very, very important. You are a brand and you have to make your profile visibility very, very clear. See yourself as a brand, present yourself as a brand, and then whatever you want will be yours. Notifications. Guys, here I'm not talking about only job notification, but other things also. Now, resume building is one thing. I understand resume writing, cover letter writing is one headache. But then getting to know where is the good job opportunity is another headache. Like gone are the days when there were plenty of jobs in the market. Today it's a candidate driven market where there is, if there is one opening, there are like 1,000+ candidates. So how about you turning the table? How about a recruiter putting an opening in the market? Before that, you approach a recruiter and asking, is there an opening? Can I apply for the job? So put out all the notifications in your LinkedIn profile. Job notification for sure, yes. Put out the charity notification and voluntary notification. If a company is doing a charity and volunteering, then it means they are spending a lot in the growth of their employees. They might have a vacancy. Check out with them. If a company is introducing or they are about to introduce a new service or a new product, it means they will need extra manpower. Check out with them for the new job opening or something. If the company is shuffling their team members, if they're hiring people or they're firing people, there's definitely going to be a position. Check out with them, and hence put out all the notifications in LinkedIn and just see where are the job openings and where you can just send your CV. Do include volunteering, awards, community services, etc. Whatever work you have done, the extra thing in your LinkedIn profile, because that speaks a great volume about you, not only as a professional, but as a person as well. LinkedIn networking. Now, guys, this is very, very important. I've seen most of my clients, they open a LinkedIn profile, and when after a month I ask them, I haven't seen you so active in the LinkedIn. They said, oh, we just thought that opening a LinkedIn profile will do the work. So, guys, no. As much as you are using Facebook and Instagram, just use half of it LinkedIn, and that's going to be very, very amazing for you. You have to be in constant engagement in LinkedIn. Add up all your friends, colleagues, ex-colleagues, seniors. Ask your seniors for recommendation. Even before you ask your colleagues for work recommendation, give recommendation. Give them recommendation and then request for a recommendation, because when recruiters or hiring managers are checking your profile, they're also going to see what your ex-employees, what your ex-colleagues, what your ex-companies are saying about you. You know, if your past companies are saying good about you, then it's a plus point. So go for all these recommendations, include and use all your LinkedIn networking to the best. So, guys, as I have already mentioned to you, that it's absolutely okay if there's not a job opening. in the market, you can still approach the recruiter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy paste a message for you, which you can use in LinkedIn. But before that, I just want to tell you that, on an average, as I've mentioned, that HR people gets a lot of CVs. But if you're not from HR profession, if you are in marketing, or if you are a company secretary, or if you are a chartered accountant, you can also send a CV to your seniors. All you have to do is make a list of 20 dream companies or 50 dream companies where you want to work. Make your CV. I'm going to give you a message which you have to customize as per your requirement. Send a subtle message to the department head and to the HR of that company that I am so and so. I have so much of this is my professional details, and I'm just wondering, do you have an opening with you? When you approach someone with a subtleness, with a soft message, no one is going to say no to you. Even if they don't have an opening with them currently, they're going to keep your resume in their database, and they might contact you in near future. Also, it has so happened when a marketing head or a finance head, when they get an opening, they go to HR with some people CV. I've got the CV in LinkedIn. Why don't you try? For HR people also, it becomes easy when they have CVs handy with them. They would like to scan that before going and scanning all the resumes on LinkedIn or Naukri or Monster. So I'm just going to copy paste the message for you all. Feel free to customize it as per your requirement. Okay, this is the one. Okay, interview. Guys, how many of you still get nervous when it comes to interview? You can just write yes or no. Do you get nervous or not? I still do get nervous when it comes to interview. I keep on calling my husband from the reception that get ORS, get saline, I'm going to faint. That's something which always happens. I never get nervous when I'm at the other side of the table as the interviewer, but as a candidate, I do get nervous. Okay. I'm going to just touch base some of the classic question of the interview and how you should answer this in terms of recruiter's perspective. Why should we hire you? This is something which is basically asked to the freshers, where when you don't have a lot of professional experience or a lot of skill set to prove your professional work experience. Why should we hire you? This is a classical trap. Don't fall for it in any interview. Basically, all you need to do is talk about your education, talk about your background, try linking it with the job you're applying to, and then it would be really easy. Show the recruiters that you are the right person for the job. Also, tell them why you are passionate about the job and the company where you have applied, which will also show that you have done a basic research about all these things. You know where are you applying, you do know where you're going to work, and it gives a very good impression. Like, for example, when I was a fresher, I've I'm basically brought up in Pan India. And when I was a fresher, I just had my education degree and no experience. I used to tell when people used to ask me, why should we hire you? I used to tell them that because I've lived in different parts of India and mixed with different culture, people, and also, dealing with people is something which comes automatically to me. So I think I'm made for HR. So, I can obviously do justice to the HR role which you are giving to me. I may not have experience, but I have the qualifications and I also have experience personally. So always try to show them, though you don't have any professional experience, you're just a fresher, the background linking, how you can link it, what are the plus points, and then just show them that you are the right person for this job. Tell me about yourself. This is a must question in every interview. Now, guys, you are called for an interview after the recruiters have seen and read your 2-page or 3-page or CV. They had an initial conversation with you on phone. They almost had an email conversation also with you. And now they're asking, tell me about yourself. Is it true they don't know anything about me? It's not the truth, guys. Tell me about yourself is a very classic question. This is one question which can stir the direction of interview for you. Try telling them, don't tell them what do you like to eat or where do you want to go for vacation or anything like that. Just tell them what is your professional background, what experience do you have, and try ending this question by giving an answer which is relevant or related to your recent key achievement or recent key win. Like, for example, you can say, if I'm ending this conversation, I can say that, recently I did a very good job for my company where some people of my company were stuck in Africa and we were not able to take them out because of the COVID situation. I did some SOPs, I did checked with some government officials, and I made sure that they are coming back to their home. These kind of key achievements, they're then going to ask you more. Oh, can you tell us the SOPs? Oh, who were the government official? Oh, how did you manage? What was the timeline? How were you doing with the family? Try ending it with a good key achievement which you can elaborate. Psychologically, also, the last said words and the first said words are the one which people remember the most. They tend to forget whatever you have said in between most of the time. So try ending with a good brownie point which you can elaborate and talk more. So remember, guys, again, I'm repeating, this is one question which can stir the direction of your interview. So try maximizing it. Also, this is one answer which you should prepare in advance. Maybe your favorite movie could be Prem Ratan Dhan Payo, but I'm sure you're not going to say that. You're definitely going to say Shashank Redemption. But how are you going to say that? Only if and if you have prepared in advance. So just guys, try preparing this answer in advance and rock in the interview. Where do you see yourself in next 5 years? Don't tell them. Absolutely don't tell them that I want to see myself in your chair. No one is happy to give their job to anybody. They are not looking for their replacement. So never say the answer. Also, never say that I'm looking myself in a 6-bedroom villa with my spouse in Maldives or Mauritius. No, guys, never say that. Or I'm planning to open my own company or a startup. Never. All they want to see is whatever the JD they're hiring or interviewing you for, is that going to match with their goals in 5 years. So always try saying that if you're getting hired for, say, finance, I see myself in doing some more courses in finance and leading a finance department in next 5 years and learning more financial aspects of this company. So this shows that your personal goals are aligned with company goals in next 5 years. Everybody wants a candidate who is not going to leave their company anytime soon, or for that matter, ever. So they would not like you to state your goals, be it short-term goals or long-term goals, out of the company. Try always matching it with your current job, the one they are offering you or they are interviewing you for. Culture fit or culture add? This is a question no interviewer or hiring manager is ever going to ask you. But they are secretly going to observe and see whether you are culture fit or a culture add. So all you have to do is, before you go for an interview, try getting the name of the interviewers. It's very easy to trace anybody these days on social media. It's very easy to read about the companies. Go through the company website very, very thoroughly, see their products, see their locations, see what are the charitable activities or the CSR thing they are doing, learn about it, talk about it in the interview, see what are the common things between you and the interviewers, read about them, what are the kind of articles they are sharing on LinkedIn, what are the kind of views they have about maybe a common topic or a trendy topic in the market, and show them. Everyone wants to work with like-minded people. They'll be happy to know if you have something in common. Instead of showing them that you are a culture fit, become a culture add. Even if your skill set is little less, even if your experience is little less, but if you're culturally fitting the company, they will definitely give you a green signal. So guys, don't miss this out. Do a thorough research on the company and on the interviews before you appear for the interview. At times, I've also had clients who have mentioned that if they are trying to find out someone's profile on LinkedIn or trying to read more about company, they're not getting the details. So in that case, it's absolutely okay to call up the recruiter and ask, you know what, I was just trying to do a basic search about the company and learn more about the company, but I'm not able to find any information. Can you help me with the website? Or you know what, I was just trying to see this person on LinkedIn. Can you tell me if the ID is correct or the URL is correct? Or can you help me with the name of the interviewer? It's absolutely okay. It's a social media era. Everyone checks out everybody. So it's absolutely okay to check out your recruiters and hiring managers before you go and talk to them. It also makes you very confident because you're not going to a total stranger. You're not going to a total new place. You already know the people. You already know the interviews. You might have an idea also what kind of questions they're going to ask. And that's going to make your job easy. What to do when you don't know answer of a question? Don't fake it, guys. Just tell them that you don't know. It's absolutely okay. We all are human at the end of the day, but don't try to fake it because it gives a very bad impression. Tell them politely that you don't know the answer. If you're confused about the question, ask them more questions to understand the question clearly. You can also tell them that I don't know the answer right now, but maybe in a day or two, I can get back to you with the right answer. So it's just okay. How to handle lots of pleasant questions in an interview. Now, there are plethora of questions in an interview which people don't like. For example, if you are a fresher Or if you are too old or if you're too young, people might ask you, what's your age? If you're not comfortable, the subtle way of saying is, I have the relevant experience required for the job, and I'm sure I'll do the justice to this one. Okay. Some people were also unhappy when they were asked, are you okay with working under a female boss? You may just say that, I am okay. In the past, I've worked with teams which have diversity, and I'm looking forward to work with diversity and inclusion. That's just not a problem. So you should know if there is an unpleasant question, don't be sad about it, don't be disappointed. Just come out with a subtle answer which gives an impression to the recruiter that you are not okay with these kind of questions, but at the same time, you also know how to handle them. How recent pandemic has affected you? This is a must question for every interview now. Now, COVID-19 has affected everyone's life in some or other way. Just see how this has affected your life and what points you can put for this during your interview, and mention that. For personally, if you ask me, as a HR person, pandemic has affected a lot, because apart from other job responsibilities, it was our moral duty as a HR to call up and check with each and every employee, are you okay? Are you safe? How are your family members? Our offices are closed. It's just been closer to 1.5 years, where people are desperately wanting to come and work in the office, but we are not in a situation to open the office because of government guidelines. So how are you keeping your employees motivated? So these are a few things for me. So as for your profession, how this pandemic has affected you, how you have handled it nicely, just add all these points, because this is going to be a must question for every interview. Salary negotiation. Now, I get a lot of calls from my clients and even from those people who are not my client, how to deal with salary negotiation. Some people feel that, they're very reluctant in talking about salary. And then they're like, okay, whatever you're giving me, I'm okay with that. But later, when they join the company, then 2 months down the line, 3 months down the line, they feel, okay, this is not happening. So let's not do that. Whatever salary negotiation or discussion you want to have the discussion prior joining to the company. It saves time and effort both for the company as well as for you. How do you do the salary negotiation? First of all, just do a random search in the market. What is the benchmark for this particular salary? Keep your data and research ready. Secondly, tell the person with whom you're doing the salary negotiation what are the pointers why you are asking for a high salary. The number one pointer should be the job given to you, whatever they are offering is not news, is something which you have done in the past, is something you have already proven in the past, and you are very sure of handling it in a better way. You can tell them that this is not a new thing for me, I'm already experienced. So there are chances of less error and more value addition. This is why I feel that I deserve a little bit of more salary than what you are offering. Also, you can say that your current scenario, your current skill set, and other stuff, and your personal thing are something because of which you believe you deserve a good salary. And based on the market research, keep your numbers ready. Based on the market research, the average salary offered for this in the market is this, and you would like to have a better salary offered to you. It's basically all you have to do is keep your data and facts checked and your points of negotiation ready. Do not hesitate. Salary negotiation is not going to cost you your offer. It's basically a healthy discussion. Also, as I have mentioned, that companies also want good candidates. At times, they don't mind. In fact, most of the times, they don't mind going above your salary expectation if you are good and you have proved yourself. So all you have to do is prove that you're always going to bring extra to the table. You're going to do justice to the role given to you, and they will give you the salary for what you're negotiating. Thank you, email guys. This is a very important thing, and this is a strategic thing also. Like after interview, everybody wants to know what's the feedback, what's the feedback, what's the feedback. But because the candidate is because the department is interviewing so many other candidates as well, so they take time in reaching the conclusion. But I know all the candidates are very much curious. How do you ask them? Like if you're calling them every day or messaging them 10 times a day, it's not going to help you. So it's very much advisable that after 2 to 3 days of your interview, send them a subtle thank you email, thanking them for their time and for the position they have interviewed, and just softly asking them what is the feedback. Okay. Also, if you are rejected for the position, do send them again a thank you email, because that shows that you have not taken the rejection and rejection personally. You're still open for the next opportunity which is coming in the market, and they'll think that you're a broad-minded person, let's keep this resume in our database and we may contact this person in future. So on that note, I'm going to share uh, a sample. Okay. So I'm going to share a sample email which you can send after the job rejection. But don't forget to send the thank you email. Okay. Okay, guys, this is one of the important thing, grooming tips for an interview. No flip-flops, no casual dressing. Be sure hair is neat and away from face. Trim and clean fingernails. Don't overdo your makeup. Now, from the moment you enter an office till you leave, everything is being noticed, everything is being observed. Not only your resume, not only your interview performance. So make sure you are properly groomed. Make sure you are going to justify for the job you're applying and make sure that there is no mistake. Also psychologically, they say that if you look good, you feel good and you do everything good. It's absolutely okay if you're applying for a job. It's absolutely okay to go to a parlor or to go to a salon just before that, do a basic makeup and go for an interview because all it's going to do is add more weightage to your resume and to your interview. So don't hesitate and take up some grooming tips. Maybe boys can just trim their beard and hair, and the girls can have a basic makeup, which is not, which shouldn't look like a overdo or something. And yeah, this also shows that when you're going with a good grooming style and all that, you're serious about the job. You've put actually some effort apart from your resume to look good. So, and this is how it gives an impression that you're going to take every given bigger or smaller task very, very seriously. Okay, guys, this is a recruiter secret. I want to tell you, when we reject a CV, we also equally feel bad. We don't feel happy in rejecting people's resume. There are also times when we feel that, some other candidate was a better fit, but we have to select someone else because of XYG reasons. Okay. So don't feel that, recruiters feel happy when they reject a candidate. It's not like that. We have, like, when I say we, I mean myself and a couple of my HR friends, we have maintained relationship with some of the people who were not hired at that time, but later they were hired in the same company or in some other company because everyone looks for a good candidate. We don't want to go to square one again, searching for new candidates, again making a new database. So we also, as a recruiter, make sure that we stay in touch with good candidates, and whenever there's a good opening, we hire them or we approach them. Okay, so guys, stay in touch with the recruiters. Okay, jobs during pandemic. Now, pandemic has changed the interview scenarios and job searching scenarios as well. Let's see, what do we have? Tailor-made resume and match it with a cover letter. Guys, as we all know, because of pandemic, there are lesser number of jobs and more number of candidates. So please make sure to whichever job you're applying, you have to tailor-made your resume and match it with a cover letter. Also, if you're like, your profile and your professional career more than anyone else, you can maybe in advance prepare 7, 8 CV sets, which speaks about different things. Like if I'm at HR, I can prepare one for recruiter, one for HRBP, one for HR operations, and highlight all those achievements and just tailor-made resume and send it to the recruiters. Network, network, and network. That's the most important thing. Also enroll in courses and add a new skill to your resume. Now, this is the pandemic time. Most of the people are working from home or they don't have jobs. So this is the right time when you can enroll in courses and add some new skills. There are a lot of free online courses coming up in LinkedIn where you can enroll yourself, learn something new, and add value to your resume. No one is going to ask you whether it was paid or free. All they are going to ask you is test your knowledge related to that course and skills. So this is one of the best time when you can enroll yourself and learn new skills. Mock interviews, if you're not sure about your interviewing skills, you can just go for a mock interview, maybe with your colleagues or friends or family, and just brush up your interviewing skills. Okay, this is one thing, career transition through veteran skilling. This is one thing I wanted to add to my resume, to the workshop today. Now, there are a lot of questions when people have actually spent 20, 25, 30, 35 years of work experience in areas like paramilitary and military, and then they want to come to the corporate. They see, as most of them see, as a challenge. As a recruiter, I see that they are bringing a lot of value addition to the industry, which the civilians can't do. So let's see how does this career transition through veteran skilling happens. Number one is the transition assistance program. There's so many consultancies and there's so many freelancers who work actually only for paramilitary and military people and help them in the smooth transition from their previous career to the corporate career. So maybe you can hire someone of them and maybe they can do your SWOT analysis and help you during the transition. Next is highlight the transferable skills. Now, I believe a lot of paramilitary and military people have a lot of good transferable skills. Like, for example, if you have manufactured or repaired an aircraft, you can add it to the Six Sigma skill in manufacturing sector. If you have done training of some 200 or 300 force people, then you can use those training modules, and not modules, those training skills for training the corporate. So there are a lot of things which you have done in your army career or in your paramilitary career, and they are very much trendy and very much required in the corporate sector. Now, we all know that Indian Army, Indian Navy are some of the areas where the latest technologies are being used. Okay. So even those technologies are so much relevant in other industries which can be used. Find military friendly employees. There are a lot of there are companies which hire the military people. Like, for example, PNG, they have a scale called blue and gray scale, where they hire the ex-military people and they help each other in getting the job. So maybe you should target the military friendly employers. The other military friendly employers are GE, and I think HUL also to some extent. Just from military to corporate speak, it's not only a skill set which you need to transfer, but a kind of the communication skill also. We all love talking in army jargons and military jargons, but maybe instead of saying that let's have a meeting at 1500 hours, we can say let's have a meeting at 3 hours. Instead of saying roger that, we can say understand that. It's just basic communicational change. Connect with recruiters and headhunters who focus on military civilian transition. So basically, I believe most of the military and paramilitary people come with a lot of skills which are not available with the civilians. One is, for that matter, precise communication, natural leadership, executions of the program, and detail for everything. These are something which are not so easily available with the civilians. These are something which are high in demand and can be used by the military people when they are coming to the corporate sector. Play up your strength as an ex-military candidates, because as I mentioned that there are a lot of things which are not available with the civilians, like say from survival of the fittest to survival of the fastest. This is something which military people have always done. If there is a contingency situation, they just get up and take care of the situation. They don't panic, which normally doesn't happen with the civilians. Even if there is a small issue, the civilians panic, but that doesn't come with the military and ex-military people. So these are some of the skills which you can talk about in your interview, in your resume, connect it with the job you are applying for, and I think you will be very much able to achieve your goals and the job you're applying for. Okay, guys, this is the last section, audio and video resume. Yes, people do read the paper resume these days, but one of the latest trend in the market is audio and video resume. What is the benefit? Benefit is audio and video resume are much more attractive than the paper resume, and it becomes very eye-catchy for the recruiters. How are you supposed to make it? Be professional. When we say be professional, you can't just sit at any place and just randomly start filming it. You have to make a proper pitch, you have to select a proper background, and you have to shoot a very good video before you send it to any recruiter. Find a good background, prepare a script, know your audience. Obviously, a video resume which you are making for a bank job would be very much different for a job which you're applying for a manufacturing unit. So see what is the targeted job, who's your audience, and accordingly make a video. Also remember, if you're not comfortable about talking yourself in the video resume, you can also have the talking video resume, where you show the pictures and accolades done by you, but you're actually not talking, you're just graphically representing your data. So that's one more thing. Show, don't tell. So audio and video, especially the video resume is one good thing which gives you actually an idea about what you have done. You can actually show it. For example, if you are very good in making PPTs, you can just show a small demo of like 10 seconds or 20 seconds, something amazing or unique what you have done in PPT. This is something which you can make it in a video resume, but not in a paper resume. Keep it brief. Don't make it more than 90 seconds because then people are not going to stick to it. They're going to get bored and they're not going to see it. So just keep it short and sweet. Share with friends and family before you start sending it to the recruiters. Just share it with your friends and family and ask for the feedback and take the feedback seriously and then just revamp your audio and video resume accordingly. Okay, guys, it's time for the surprise. Okay, I'm just going to copy paste this into chat box. Okay, guys, so I have copy pasted my Instagram handle on the chat box. All you have to do is, this is a contest. All you have to do is any one person who joins me first and sends me a DM that Kalyani, I want you to make my LinkedIn profile, is going to get a free LinkedIn profile done by me. So all you have to do is join my page and send me a DM and I'll just select who's the winner. So that's it from my end. The floor is open for questions now.
So everyone, how was the workshop? I actually, we floated a poll and we've got some good reviews for the poll, through the poll. But, we'll know best when you start asking the questions, because I'm sure there are a lot of queries apart from what Kalyani has already spoken about. There must be things which you have come, you must have had, many thoughts about what this workshop is going to be. So if there are unanswered questions in your mind right now, we would request you to come up with those questions, because questions are something which is not going to just help you. It is also going to help, the other participants who are there with us right now. So we are just waiting for your questions. And while you type in your questions, Kalyani, I have one or two questions that I wanted to ask you.
Yes, yes.
So one question that I have is that people send in bulk resumes, instead of specifically targeting organizations. They feel that if they send many resumes to many companies, there are more chances of, getting filtered. Yeah. So in that case, what is your advice? What do you really feel that candidates should do in this case? Yeah.
Okay. So, Ekta, yeah, you're absolutely right. When people think that sending the resumes again and again, then there might be a chance for us to get shortlisted. But let me just tell you, guys, just flooding someone's inbox is not going to help you in landing the job. It's rather going to make the recruiters very, very irritating, and they are now going to shortlist you. Also, there's one more thing, Ekta, thanks a lot for asking this question. I also wanted to tell you guys, I'm sure you all must be knowing this is a very old trick. When in Naukri or Monster, you're applying for a job, you have to refresh your CV every weekly or once in 10 days. So what happens, your resume automatically goes up in the database. So when a recruiter is putting the keywords, say for example, a digital marketer of 5 years in Mumbai location, then automatically 1,000 CVs are going to come. Your CV is going to be there in top 5 or top 10. Okay. So a recruiter is now going to go through all those 1,000 CVs. They're just going to pick 4 or 5 from the list of those 10 CVs. So make sure that you refresh it every 10 days. But if you're going to do it every day, so all I see, Kalyani, 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 and as a HR, I'll become very irritable. I'm like, just blacklist this girl. Why is she sending me so many CVs, or why is she updating in so many times in Naukri? So don't do this, guys. It's a very, there are subtle ways available to check with the recruiters. Have you received my CV? Is some more information required by you? Am I lacking in providing something? Use those subtle method rather than just irritating the people.
Okay. Do we have any questions here? People who have questions can also unmute themselves. Um,
Yes, I do have a question.
Have the chat box from Ria. Okay. So Ria is asking, while giving an interview, what is an answer of your weaknesses? Okay. Ria Agrawal. Okay. So, guys, when they're asking you for your weaknesses, don't tell them that you are very lazy, you don't like to get up early, or you are not a healthy fitness freak or something like that. Tell your weakness in a way which actually displays your strength. You can say that, my weaknesses, like I like things to be perfect till I deliver them, or my weakness is always to make sure that whatever project I'm doing within the given time, no matter what I have to, if I have to sit late, or if I have to just miss my social engagements, I just make sure that I am achieving the target. So present your weaknesses in a form which are not your weaknesses, but your strengths. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
All right, Kalyani, I had a question. The question is that these days doing certifications has become very, very easy. With the bliss of the MOOCs platform, students have been doing a lot of certifications. So they are putting in a lot of certifications in their resume. So how to just have the distinction that what kind of certifications are to be put and what kind of certifications are not to be put in a resume from a recruiter's point of view?
So this is exactly where you need to match the job you are targeting. So see what are the certification relevant to that particular job, mention that. Even when you're mentioning 4, 5 certification, mention those on the top. So when someone is reading at the top, they are understanding that you have not only have the experience related to those profession, you also have the required certification. And of course, the latest skill set. Just see what are the trendy skill set if you have done any certification related to that. I mean, I'll be really happy to hire someone who have recently done any certification in digital marketing, or say Posh Act, or say something very, very related to Google Analytics, so skills and professions like that.
can I add
All
something
right.
here?
So
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I would like to add something here that any person who's putting a certification, so don't put something which you have already, just done for the heck of it. If you really feel that whatever certification you did and you have the knowledge to and expertise to back it up with, because recruiters and HR people, they are also very smart, right? So if they ask you a cross question of, okay, you did this certification, now tell me something about this certification. What exactly, how has it helped you? How you've used it in your work or whatever, something related to it. And you've just done something, because it's easy doing a certification. You just spend a couple of hours and you get get certified in a certain thing. So if you cannot back it up, then don't put it there because it's going to, kind of backfire in that case. Yeah? That's just what I wanted to add.
Yeah, absolutely correct, Ekta. Absolutely well said. There's one more question here where Zen is asking how to avoid political question while giving an interview. Okay, so how to avoid political and religious questions while giving an interview? You can be very polite and say that this particular job is not going to have any impact related to any political and religious beliefs of mine. So be sure it's not going to impact and have the whatever results you need. So you can just ditch the question that you don't want any political and religious things based on it. Try not mentioning any political or religious view either on your resume or an interview. One more question, what are the free websites where we have templates for layouts? One is Canva for sure. Canva is the one where I can say there are n number of things available, but then just don't pick it up directly from there. You have to customize it because when it's free, then a lot of people are using it. And I'm sure your recruiter would have seen it 100 times. So just try customizing whatever template you're taking from the websites, and Canva is free also.
There's one question for senior academic position, dean, professor, etc. Most of the reputed institutes have their own format. Where can you add up your resume? Where you can add up your resume. So this is Mr. Sahu, J.K. Sahu. He wants to understand something related to this.
I actually am not getting the question, like they have their own format and where can I add a resume? I'm sorry.
Mr. Sahu, can you unmute yourself and ask the question in a detailed format? Yeah.
Ekta, what he means is many of these organizations have got a standard template which do not give you the flexibility of doing what we have discussed there. So obviously, I mean, the answer is pretty obvious. So if you have a standard template in a company, you follow the template. But many of the things that she has discussed today, you can keep those in mind and follow the standard template. If you have a standard template, you cannot be sending your own resume, obviously.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely right. It means the company wants just a couple of information, not all information, and in the same format in which they have asked for. So just stick to it. Don't deviate from it. Okay, so someone has asked how to highlight or mention confidential classified achievements in a resume. Don't do that because you don't know who all are going to read your resume and who all are going to circulate it to whom. If it's a confidential thing, if you have signed a contract in your company, please do not represent that in your resume or for that matter in an interview, because then it will give an impression that you cannot be trusted with any confidential information in their company and in your current company also. So avoid doing it. Okay, Weber was asked how should be the profile banner of our LinkedIn profile. If you're looking for a job and your current company is okay with it, then just highlight the green one, looking for job. It actually gives a visual effect that this guy is looking for a job and can be immediately contacted. But just make sure that your current company is aware of it. It shouldn't be a problem for you.
So Kalyani, I have a question for you. Sometimes when the interview happens, the primary questions that comes out is what is your age, about the marital status, and a couple of personal questions comes out, which is nowadays comes under the bracket of diversity as well. So how to answer such kind of questions is one, or do we have to even entertain such kind of question as others? Because many a times it will be a direct question, what is your age or what is your date of birth? It's a very personal and direct question that comes in, and then the interview starts kind of working out post that. So how to answer such questions?
Okay, very relevant question, Dipti. Yes, a lot of people ask you all these kind of questions. Yes, you need to address this when you're sitting in an interview. You can't just skip it. The possible way of answering it, if you're not comfortable discussing your age, if you're too young or if you're too old, you just say that I am aware of the given required experience and number of experience and the professional requirement for this particular job, and I have that. Believe me, I'm going to do justice to this particular job because I have the relevant number of years. That's it. You don't need to know my age. As far as your marital status is concerned, you can say that in spite of my marital status or my family background, there's not going to be any impact on my job. Whatever job is given to me, I'm going to fulfill that in the given timeline. So my family background or my marital status or my any status has no impact on it. So
there is no necessity that you have to give a direct answer if you're not comfortable.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely not. But if somewhere someone is really probing you, because I'll also at times when we are hiring, and if we know that the position is going to demand high level of traveling or sitting late in the office, then we would certainly not want a lady who's planning a family in next 3 or 4 months, not because we don't value the candidate, only because we don't want to burden them. The acceptable way in this case can be, you can say that, my family is very supportive, my husband is very nice, irrespective of the fact I'm having a baby or something, I'm making you sure that for 9 months I'm going to work. I'm also very good. I don't have any health issues. I think I can do justice to it. So somewhere, even companies compromise if they really like you as a candidate and they really are impressed by your skill set. They're also ready to make certain few kinds of compromises for you. It's just that how amicable you can make the discussion. What is the out? You should also ask them, probe them that what is the reason behind asking these questions. Are my professional skills, are my qualifications, are my key achievements not enough for the job? Why are you asking my personal questions? Is there a reason behind it? If there is a valid reason, then you should ask. Valid reason, and they're just no, it's a company culture. Everybody is expected to sit after office hours. Maybe that's not the kind of place you want to be at the first place. So, see how you can stir the direction of the discussion and what suits you best.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think that was very helpful. My second question, if I may ask, is on there are direct salary conversation that happens in the first call. let me know what is your expectation. Even though you say that, even after the interview or during the interview, we can have a discussion on this. There is a very persistent probing that happens, wherein they need to know the expectation. Now it's a double-edged sword. It's something like, if you say, then there is a conversation that's going to come in, and you are not worth it, this is not as per the market standards, and a lot of such kind of conversation comes in. I have heard personally with some of the recruiters that's come in, wherein it's not as per the market standard, and we will just be able to offer only 20% or 30%. When that happens, the entire framework, you're not being interviewed, and it's just a first call, and then the kind of negotiation or discussion just goes on very haywire. I have had such instances couple of times, wherein in the what I can say, recruiters, it's not even the second stage or the third stage, but the first stage, wherein they're just briefing about company profile and asking introduction. They're very persistent on, tell me about your salary expectations. So how to handle such questions, and how to proceed further with such kind of questions.
Okay. So Dipti, basically all you have to do is, when they are asking you about your salary expectation in the very first round, you can ask them, listen, I am not sure what am I expecting from the salary right now. However, I would like to know what is your offer. Secondly, you can also say that, the job offer is so lucrative, the company is so good that I would like to proceed with the next round and see how this discussion is going on. And I would like to have more details about the job you're offering. And I would like to have more details about the person I'll be reporting to, the kind of projects I will be involved in. Probably then I can say what are my expectations. I'm sure everybody would like to know many things while quoting a salary. How much
Correct.
of traveling it involves, what are the projects, who are the people, is there going to be any learning on the job, or are you going to handle a difficult team, are you going to handle a difficult boss, are you going to work global as per the global times or as per the Indian time? There are n number of questions, based on which you can answer about your salary expectations. So tell them all this, that right now
I
process
have
is the first
actually
one.
given such kind of answers, but you will be directly narrowed on to the spot wherein, let me know your expectation. That's when we can proceed further. We need a number.
So then
So
you can
there is
do
a,
one thing. One
yeah.
thing is, you can go to the websites like Glassdoor and all, where they publish
uh,
salaries earned by the candidates, sorry, employees of those companies. You can just see what is the average salary, and
uh,
probably after that you can put an expectation. But yeah, I also feel that, it's very kind of not mature expressing
yeah.
everything in the first go, because you don't have the entire job details.
Yeah. My third question is, see, I have an overall years of around 7+ years of experience in HR. I'm an HR professional myself, but my experience related to certain experience, let's say in L&D, is around 2+2.5 years of experience. Now, what happens, I'm just saying this out loud, is sometimes even though you have your 7 years of experience, when I'm applying for roles for L&D, all my experience shrink to this 2 years of experience or 2.5 years of experience which I have, and there is a discredit of experience range that's going to come in for the other 4-5 years which I have actually done. So I have had such experience wherein, one or two of the company or the recruiters who have discussed, but you just have 2.5 years of experience, which is not something which is the truth. For an HR, 7 years is 7 years, irrespective of where we are, and we are able to build value in whichever domain we go, because it's all interconnected. So what is it that we can do? Because the moment I've also had a chance to state that it's not just 2.5 years. I say 7 years is something which has actually added value in my profession, and just don't restrict my experience with 2.5 years, though I have relevant in 2.5 years, but my experience is around 7 years. So this is how I was actually okay enough to put myself across. But sometimes it does not go well or sit well, and a lot of this kind of questions comes in which is not very appropriate also at times. So how to handle such uh, issues? One is asking relevant questions also sometimes does not happen, and with this what happens, two things. One, it could be incapability of a recruiter who is hiring, but what happens is the right kind of information even does not reaches the company, because there is a different way of handling things. right? So just wanted to know your thought process or how to handle such kind of scenarios.
Number one, one thing you can do, Dipti, when you're making your resume, instead of mentioning your job summary details as per the company you have worked, or
Hmm.
you can give a total summary. You can put at the top the years of the like the name of the company, the designation, and the number of years when you have worked, and the total summary as a whole, like L&T so and so experience, and talent acquisition so and so experience. So that doesn't show like how much years of experience do you have, until unless they ask you. At that time you can be honest and tell them that knowledge is never a waste. I also wanted to try my hands in different other fields so that I'm a holistic person, and after some time I realized that this is the area where I want to build up my career. So even if I have 2 years of experience, I'm not a fresher in this area, I already have experience, and I
Yeah.
want to go. Everybody wants to learn.
No, can 1 second. Hello, 1 second. Uh, just a moment, yeah. I'm just announcing. Actually, we're already over time here, and Commander Bali also has to leave.
Okay.
So we'll have to wrap it up, and we'll just say bye to him, and then we can, wrap it up with the questions. Whoever has questions, additional questions, they can message it to me, and I can, or message it in the group, and Kalyani will answer. Is that okay with you, Kalyani? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ekta, before Commander Bali leaves, can we have a picture?
Yeah, sure. Actually, everybody is not on camera, so.
Can we request all of you to switch on your camera, please, just for a picture?
It's okay. So it's on recording. We'll take a screenshot. Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Okay. So everyone, actually, we are running short of time. We are already up by, almost 15 minutes, and Commander Bali has to leave. He has his own, assignments during the day. So thank you, Commander Bali, for being there with your advice and your suggestions for all of us.
Dr. Ekta, could I just ask a question direct to Commander Bali, please?
Yeah, sure. So can you
Please
oblige?
go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, of
Bali,
course,
this
of
is
course.
Colonel BP saying, Colonel Barinder.
Yeah, hi.
Basically, a direct question. I've been an infantry officer. Now, because there are certain, aspects which during the service, which is very particular to our services. They cannot be per se mentioned in the resume, but they are great achievements which one thinks they are. How do we come about that?
Yeah. Yeah, so to answer this question to all the armed forces personnel, I think you can write a generalistic line. Took part in counterterrorism operations in the valley. That one statement, I think everybody understands. It's in the public domain. It's nothing secret about it. And especially when you're applying for jobs which are in the security domain or things like that. And that will be very, very helpful, because then they will know that you have been an operations person into the battle or into the field actually, and not someone who has been in the sitting in the background. So one straight line, I mean, just similar lines you could add where you're not exactly telling what you did, because then it becomes a matter of national security and Official Secrets Act, etc., etc. But a simple statement like took part in counter-terrorism operations in Jammu Kashmir or in the Northeast, it can very well be written within there, so that is no issue at all.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I have added, send my LinkedIn profile, and this is a passion for me to help youngsters and not so young. So, anyone wants to get connected, can, send me a request. And also I have sent a YouTube video, which is my favorite interview scenes in a movie, which is from this great movie called Pursuit of Happiness. I always want people to have a look at it. It's a great video. It was seen, I had sent it somewhere, and you can just scroll it down. Thank you so much, Kalyani. It was absolutely wonderful. In fact, you're in such a short period of time to tell people so many things, and I'm sure it is just the tip of the iceberg. People can connect with you individually and ask so many things, but it was absolutely marvelous what you've said. And just one or two points quickly. One is the lady who asked the last bit of questions. Just never, ever, ever get into arguments with any interviewer ever. I mean, you can answer the question once and just leave it at that, because they at times I have known in many jobs and many companies, they would like to put you under stress to see you how you sort of crack up or how you get into arguments. Just forget about it. One answer, the second should not be from your side at all. That is point number one. So that is very, very critical. Second thing is, not getting a job is no big deal, or not getting multiple successes in multiple interviews is no big deal, guys. So just don't worry about it. You have the right job waiting for you whenever it's due. And one important thing which was said is that you are the younger generation. You are not, our generation. Everything colorful, short, quick, to the point is a done thing now. So this black and whites and all are, I think, passe. As Kalyani was rightly saying, that was during my age and era. Just go ahead and speak your mind out. A lot of people understand that your generation speaks their mind out. They are not so much conservative in their approach, and we all understand that. And it's taken as a a very good quality when you speak something about with honesty. So thank you, Ekta, so much, and thank you everyone who was here. We saw around 60 people. It was a great attendance, and let's have more of these, Ekta. Thank you so much, and God bless, and keep safe. And as I keep telling everyone, being in the healthcare, I can't stop. Get yourself vaccinated, but still keep wearing masks, because Corona is a virus which will keep evolving for another 2-3 years, I think. And so be safe, all of you. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah, with your permission,
word.
Ekta, I would like to leave now. Thank you.
Yeah, please. Thank you so much for being there. Yeah?
Okay, thank you so much.
Always a pleasure to have you around.
Thank you so much. You guys can continue. Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so guys, we can take, Ekta, can we take one last question, or we?
Yeah, sure. Because actually he had to leave, so I had to intervene. So he was calling me up. And
Okay.
it's a working day for him. So, that's why we used to do it on a Sunday earlier.
Okay.
But then more people requested us to do it on a Saturday, so we had no choice.
Okay. So I guess Dr.
Sure.
Dragan is asking, can I get recording of this lecture? There's network problem. I could not enter. Yeah, you can. I think we can share the recording, right?
We can share the recording, and they can personally connect with me, actually. So either message me on my LinkedIn, or they can message me on the group or whatever. So I'll take care of that. Yeah.
Okay, guys, so we can take
excuse
one
me.
last question. Yeah.
Ma'am, I just had a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, I'm a fresher. So as a fresher, like, how should I go about my resume? When it comes to putting in your achievements and your synopsis, I don't have any such professional achievements. So how should I go about it?
Rima, I'm sure you'll have some professional experience, though you have not worked professionally for any company. I'm sure you would have arranged some picnic or some parties, so it can talk about your event managing skills. I'm sure you would have helped some of your friends who were fighting and help them in coming to an amicable decision. So maybe that shows your leadership qualities. So just try taking out all these things, try seeing what is your background, try linking your background with the required profession where you're applying, and just tell them. I'll give you one example. We had gone for a campus interview where we were interviewing people. These were the second year MBA students, and there was this girl who was being interviewed for a marketing job. We were three of the people who were interviewing her, asking her different questions. My senior, she just saw her hobby, which she has mentioned as dancing. And she asked her, can you just show us some steps? She just stood up. She sang a song. She did a dance number there itself. And we were so amazed that, it's just not mentioned in her CV, but she's actually confident. And we were happy to give her the offer letter just based on confidence. So marketing is something where we need people to convince what they are selling, what they are doing. She did not have any professional experience, but she proved it with her hobbies. So just try linking your hobbies, your education, your certification. Also, when you talk about experiencing, maybe you can just do a job shadowing, which means volunteering free of cost, working with someone for a CSR cause, and mention all those things in a professional way, but for which you were not paid, but you had gained the industry experience. Also, few of the students get a chance for doing a summer placement or internship with the companies. At times it's paid, at times it's free, but you get an industry exposure. You can make use of it and put it in your CV. So,
thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
You're welcome, Rima.
Hello, ma'am. I have a question.
Yes, Priyanka.
Like, does the job gap for about 1 year or 2 year puts any influence on like hiring, like, in order to?
Yes. Yes, it does. So as I've said earlier, that it gives a confusion that what were you doing in that 1 or 2 years. So it's absolutely okay to mention a line or two mentioning your career break details. Put it in your CV and elaborate on that in the interview, but never hide it. Never leave it blank. Otherwise, it looks like what was she doing? Was she in job? Has she forgotten? So don't give.
So like, how do we reflect it on our CV?
So when you are putting your, suppose you were working in 2010 to 12, then you had a gap from 12 to 14, then again you got a job from 14 to 16. Okay. When
Okay.
mentioning the career graph, where you're mentioning the name of the company designation and the profile where you have worked and the number of years. Similarly, in the number of years, just put the number of years, highlighted career break, reason for the career break, so and so, just in the career graph.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome. So guys, I think whatever questions you have, as Ekta mentioned, you can send it to her and we can start answering it. Also, I believe we all have added each other on LinkedIn and Insta, so you can keep checking our post related to the job things where you'll get maximum number of your answer. You can also send a DM your question to us and we will answer you. So that's it.
So I've shared my number in the chat box also and my LinkedIn coordinates. So I'm not putting my entire profile. You can search for Ekta Kapoor with a C and you will find that out. And I'll accept everyone's request. We are available on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter also. So you can follow us wherever you feel like, we are always there. And whatever you need, you can connect with me directly on my number. I'll be glad to help you out. Yeah. So that's it. Yeah. Kalyani, you wanted to add something? Yeah.
Yeah, I would just like to end this workshop by saying that, guys, if you're rejected for any position, don't take the rejection and dejection personally. It's not that you are lacking something. It's just that as a company, people have a lot of CVs and they just see which is the best fit for their job and their company. That doesn't mean that you are lesser than anybody. Somewhere a better fit, a good company is waiting for you. Don't take it personally. Don't be disappointed. Just be persistent in your job search. There will be times when you have a burnout. Do something to rejuvenate yourself, but be persistent when you're looking for job and don't take anything personally, any rejection or any dejection person. That's all I want to say. And last but not the least, I would like to thank Ekta for giving us all these amazing opportunities, and thank you to all the participants for bearing me with so much of patience.
Thank you so much, everyone. And before we close, actually, I just want to, add one experience. Basically, I speak to a lot of human resource professionals, and they always say that they're really wary of candidates who actually call up and, last minute at the interview, they're asking what is the what is the role or what is this job about. So always do your research. Always, if you are not aware of the job description, always call up and ask, mail and ask, or call up and ask. Don't just randomly, apply for anything, because it goes against you. It may be the mistake of the organization not giving a job description, but ultimately it goes against you because you're not aware of it. Yeah. So that's it. That's my just closing words. And thank you so much, everyone, for being a part of this workshop. Thank you, Kalyani. It's been wonderful having you here. And thank you, each one of you. Just keep following Amazing Workplaces for some amazing workshops that we'll do in the future. Thank you so much once again. Yeah. So with that, we close this workshop. Yeah. Let's stay in touch. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
It was really good. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for being there and being so participative.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank you,
Amal.
ma'am. Thank you so much.